Welcome to the Billionaire LifeStyle Podcast with your host, Emmitt Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmittmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Hey everybody, this is Emmitt with the Billionaire LifeStyle Podcast. Today, getting it done, doing it again. I hope this is not a little bit too loud. Let me turn that down a little bit for you so we can get things cracking. Today I had a couple of items I wanted to share with you. You know, I was driving in my car today, making things happen, and I had topics. You always have to have topics. So, you know, some things kept reoccurring throughout the day, and a couple of them were sometimes we need to check our emotions because that gets us in a world of trouble. B, we need to play the long game. They coincide with each other. Checking your emotions, playing the long game. And finally, but not least, who's your mentor? It's really that simple. So these are the things that we're going to cover today, and you can also call in. So you can call in at area code 734-419-9107. I don't know if it'll work because it's the first time I'm trying it, and that's what we're going to do. But like I said, there's some things that I realized a long time ago that have plagued people in this world. And it's a really simple concept, which is sometimes people just can't check their emotions. If you think about all the trouble you got into in your life or all the bad decisions you made, you probably made it from an emotional point of view. And I can think of many things I did because I just reacted. I was reacting out of emotion, or somebody said something and I reacted out of emotion versus just asking, why did they say that? Or why is this happening to me? Or is this the right thing to do? Sometimes, you know, to get the best outcome, you may have to go that emotional route, but it's very infrequent that you should. It is very infrequent. And the reason I say this is because I think about it from a financial standpoint. We always talk about uh, how did somebody do that, or why did somebody do that to somebody else? And that's because they took the emotion out. They thought about it from a logical standpoint. Now, the thing that makes us human is our emotional content, our emotional construction. But you have to know when to use it. You can't always go from an emotional point of view when you're acting or reacting to any particular circumstances. I'll give you for instance. A lot of times we don't do something, we make a goal and we don't follow up with it because of our emotional state. We make an emotional decision. We don't lose weight, or we lose weight for the wrong reasons, or a whole myriad of things. Why don't you go to the gym? Answer that question. What do most people say? I don't feel like it. You heard that? That's an emotion. I don't feel like it. How come you didn't do your test? Didn't feel like it. Or someone says something to you like, hey man, I don't like your shirt. And you get huffy and puffy and want to swing bats and things like that and just get loud and get into verbal fisticuffs. And what it comes out to be is you had an ugly shirt on. And you wanted to get, indignant about it. I used to see this all the time in the hood, especially over gym shoes. You know, gym shoes are rubber and pseudo leather, and they cost a little bit, and someone would step on someone's shoe and their emotions would take over. And these are young cats. I've seen some old guys get into it too. I mean, I've seen some guys in their 30s and 40s get into it. Now, I'm going to diverge a little bit about this here. Some of it is historical, which means it comes down to a respect level. Sometimes people feel disrespected, and the only way to teach a person a lesson is to get in an altercation with them, but it's still an emotional response. Sometimes there are better ways to actually get what you are, to find your goal, what you're looking to achieve. And it's not always about fisticuffs or some altercation that costs you more than that investment. Because sometimes we can get emotionally caught up in a situation where it costs us so much more emotionally later, financially later, spiritually later, that in retrospect, you go, what was I thinking? Why, if I had it to do it all over again, I would do it differently. So, we have to kind of bear down, and especially in this day and age, because resources are finite. Resources are getting more limited. People have a more stringent eye on you. I mean, you have to think about it. Sometimes you just want emotional attention. And this is what we see on Facebook. People put some crazy, I put crazy stuff up, but I put things up to give people a laugh. I typically give people up to boost their spirit or to make them go. But some people put some things on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram that are just, you should keep that to yourself or to your private group where it can never get out. And you did it from an emotional attention requesting circumstance. Kill that noise. Kill that noise. Kill that noise. I'm going to invite some more people. I don't even care. Anyway, I'm recording the podcast here. You can call in at area code, and this is being recorded live. You can call in at 734-419-9107. It will be live for the next 30 minutes, and then it will go dead. Believe that, because I don't want you blowing my phone up late at night. You have to have these alternate phone numbers so that you can turn them on and turn them off at your whim. But this is real talk, because I see it all the time. People, we make decisions based on our emotions versus thinking it through. We buy cars based on emotion. We try to keep up with the Joneses based on emotion. I look at what people do based on their emotions versus based on their logic. So people, I mean, like the 2008 bubble caught people with their pants down because they were making these emotional decisions. Oh, I can get a house and I can finance 105% with no money down. Whoa. Versus saying, that got your emotions stirring, something you always wanted. And now somebody's saying, making it easy for you. The road to life isn't always easy. So you have to think about yourself, think about it in a method that is a little more conscious. Saying that means, how is this going to be in a rational sense for me in the future? How is this going to affect my emotional, spiritual, physical well being in the future from this decision I'm making? Is it a rational decision? Is my reaction a rational reaction, or is it an emotional reaction? This is funny. In 2008, I got laid off from my day job. I was still hustling, I was making money. But I realized there is this stigma that people get emotional when they get fired. I understand, rightfully so, in some instances, because that's the only gig you got and you need to feed some people. But having said that, I sat down at this table. No, I'm going to explain it to you what had happened. I remember I was working at this workbench, and I seen a partner of mine walk out with a manager. I didn't see him return to his desk. I was like, ain't that funny? Maybe he went out on a service call or something, or see a customer. And then said manager came and tapped me on my shoulder, and he said, why don't you bring your laptop with you? I literally knew what was going down at that moment. So I went into this conference room, and there were 3 managers on the other side of the table, and they gave me this kind of smooth it over spiel. And the only thing I could think of at the time was, Come on, man, get over with this so I can go home and watch Ellen. I was actually kind of pissed because I worked like 40 miles away from my home, and they could have just called it in. They could have told me the night before, they they could have saved me, and I was driving a minivan, so they could have saved me like 20, $30, since I'm already laid off. But, this was 2008 and I saw it coming. I saw it coming in 2007 because things start slowing down dramatically. But sometimes we are just so blind that we don't see it. But I'm digressing. The whole thing about it was I asked if I could go and get a few more things. And they were like, no, 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 no. They rushed me out of there. They didn't want me to see anyone because they thought I was going to act the fool. They thought I was going to react from my emotional being. And I wasn't, because I understood it was business. It's just like a relationship. At any given time, any one of those parties can say, I'm done with you. And we get emotionally, I put all this time in this company. Nope, I'm not that guy. I'm like, yep. Hey, tomorrow's a new day. And there's another opportunity that will present itself today. If it doesn't present itself tomorrow, sometime in the future, long as I keep my wits about me, an opportunity will come. So that applies to when you come across these emotional circumstances that you get enthralled with. That's just real. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm saying, my Toastmasters would be hot right now. They would just like, they'd be marking them down. But like I'm saying, you have to keep your composure in most circumstances. There are instances where you need to be emotional. You need to let that out, because if you bottle it up, it will manifest itself in another way. It may manifest itself physically. But not everything needs to be emotional. I watch television and I just see people who are not using both hemispheres of their brain, and they're just going off of attention deficit or they're just wilding out, and there's no need for it. Just, hey, it's done. It happened. My bad. I know. Maybe you are. Keep it pushing. And that saved my life, actually, because there's a lot of situations I got into when I was younger. If I would have reacted emotionally, I probably would have been dead. So that's how serious it can be. So you have to really watch what you do. This comes into playing the long game. I realize in this climate that everybody's out for the quick buck. If you look on the internet anywhere, everybody's trying to get the quick attention, the quick buck. Think about the long game. Think of how your actions in this moment, in the very next moment, because the only moments that actually exist are now. That's not true, because some of your previous actions can catch up to you. But going forward, you have to think about now. The only moment that really exists is now. And with that, you have to think, how are my actions that are occurring in this moment going to affect me 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now? That goes back to think, buying a car, buying a house, getting married, getting in a relationship, making a dramatic change. Look at all the variables. Look at the worst case scenario and see how it's going to play out in your life and how it could negatively or positively impact your life, and react and plan strategically for the necessary outcome. This is vitally important, that you plan for the necessary outcome, which means playing the long game. Sometimes you may have to take an L, and if you're watching on video, I just put up the L sign. You may have to take an L in the short game to make a W in the long game. Sometimes there's a lesson you need to learn. You can't always just win, 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 win. You have to strategically know your ebb and flow. Everything is not meant for us all the time. It's meant in its right time. And just because it's presented to you in this time doesn't mean you're ready for it. Think about the long game. I'll give you a for instance. Back in the day, my mom wanted me to go and work at the auto plant when I was 17. I was graduating high school, and she said, "Hey, I got an application for you. I can get you into General Motors, and um, you can make some serious bucks." And I could have made some serious money then. And I was 17, and I was working as a cook at the Ramada or the Hilton or something like that, making like maybe $5 an hour. But I was good. I was doing my thing. I was going to school. She was like, "You can go to school and it'll," she's like, "You can go to the work here and it'll pay for your school." Here's what I knew for the long game understanding. I have known people that went and got high paying jobs when they were right out of high school and they never went to school. At that time, I didn't have that discipline, and I knew I didn't have that discipline. So I was like, I'm just going to stay where I'm at because this is going to force me to make sure that I go to school. It's going to be rough. It was really rough, as a matter of fact. But in the long term, I have made just as much because I stuck with that schooling versus going into the auto plant. That was back in the 80s, though. It's a different game now. Going to college can ruin you financially. So if you're playing the long game for college, you have to make sure that you're going there for something that is definitely going to provide fruitful employment or fruitful opportunities for you once you graduate, that you will be able to pay them back if you're not already paid in full and sustain your life, which means doctor, lawyer, engineer, something that is highly in demand, something that is such a niche skill that you can only get that education at a 4 or more year college degree. This is absolutely necessary. Mario, how are you, my man? We have to hook up. Seeing me online. But this is so vitally important. You have to go for the long game. Now, I'm going to transition to the next part here, which is mentorship. We don't have mentors now in this current age. You know, I was watching this documentary about Generation X, and Generation X was that first full-fledged latchkey kid generation whose parents were separating at an alarming rate, like 50% divorce rate for those who were getting married. They were on their own. They were cooking their own meals. I am a product of that. I love Generation X because in Generation X tends to be far more independent and have more abilities to sustain themselves independently than some of the other generations or the generations that came after. You know, we could cook our own food, we could mend our own clothes, we could get to and fro without a lot of supervision. We were kind of independent. We wanted to get a car. We wanted to get out and get on our own. But we didn't have a lot of mentors. This is what gets me. And this used to piss me off, and I don't hear it as much today as I did. It was big in the 90s and the early 2000s when these sports stars would have issues in their lives, or they would create these scenarios that were kind of jacked up. And what would happen is they would say, "You're a poor role model." And a sports star should never be a role model for someone like me, someone in the general public. The only time that they are a role model is in their actions on the field. If you could um, ascribe to ascend to what they are doing on the field, that's when they're a role model. Outside of that, outside of their performance on the field or whatever they're doing, or race car drive, whatever it is, outside of their occupation, they are not a role model to me. The role model is the people who I can touch. Understand that? Which means my dad, if you don't have a father, could be an uncle. If you don't have uncles, it could be someone who has good virtues, who's carrying themselves. And I'm saying this from a masculine perspective, but on the female side, it could be either, I mean, it could be either or. It could be a male or a female. It just means someone who's carrying themselves with good virtues, who's gone through some of those bumpy roads that you are destined to hit, and they can help steer you in the right direction. Or they have a succinct knowledge that you are trying to ascertain or get, and they can help you navigate that path, that journey a lot smoother. We keep looking for mentors that are so far above us instead of looking at the mentors who are right in our gravity. Look in your gravity. There's someone who has experienced parts of the journey that you are trying to travel. They may not look exactly like you want them to look. They may not have all the acumen that you think they should have. Seek out mentorship. And it's really simple. It's really, really simple. And I do this all the time. I do it from cats who are younger than me. I do it from cats who are older than me. I do it from males. I do it from females. And this is how I do it. Ready? Listen to me. All you have to do is go up to said individual and say, hey, I want to get your opinion on how I should, then you fill in the blank. They're going to say one of two things. They're going to say, I don't know, or they're going to rattle off. Then listen closely, because this is your judging moment where you figure out if they're worth their salt. If they can clearly explain to you what you should do with point counterpoint, they may be a good candidate for your mentor, to be your mentor. If they can't, keep it pushing. Ask someone else. It's really that simple. You know, we're looking for mentors and coaches online, and there's a ton of them because there's a lot of people out there with a lot of experience and have gone through some things. And if you can't find one, they're always there. There's someone who is willing, you can help sustain them by paying them a fee, and they can help you move forward. If not, keep asking. Keep asking. Hey guys, this is oh yeah. So remember, go to emmittmuckles.com. That's EMMITTMUCKLES.com. And check out the podcast, check out the website, leave me some reviews in iTunes, and we will get things popping. Oh, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Just like I'm doing this, you can too. You see this beautiful green screen studio that I've made, and I made it by going to Menards and investing about $60. Believe it. It's inexpensive to produce great media. Today, we are living in an age where you can't really get the ROI from television. You can't get the ROI and attention from radio. So you have to create your own media. If you don't know how, it's very simple. Emmitt can show you how. Emmitt can coach you. Emmitt can be your mentor. Play the long game. Today, you getting your message out is very inexpensive. It costs you pennies on the dollar of what it cost you years ago. So, having said that, you have to know how to start the journey and continue the journey, whether it be video creation, audio creation, podcast, vidcast, blog. And I'm going to say it like this. Over the years, I have constantly and frequently subscribed to newsletters that I never read. There are a few that catch my eye, but I have to be really interested. Versus someone sends me a video or an audio clip and I can consume it at any time. It doesn't take up my eyeballs. It doesn't take up all my attention, especially audio. I'm going to give you I'm going to tell you how powerful creating this medium is. I had a guy who wanted to be interviewed by me on the podcast. And he sent me an email. Most people do. They just send me an email and they give me this words. I do this. I think I'd be great for da. And it's all good. It's quick, succinct. Hopefully it's not too wordy. This guy sent me a really short email. Hey, and he did his homework. It was so beautiful. I mean, a single tear rolled down my nose as I consumed this content from this gentleman. And he simply wrote a very small email and says, hey, Emmitt, hey, I really like your show. I've listened to a few episodes. I even like this part of this specific episode where you talked about blah, 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 blah. And here's how that pertains to my life. Also, I've included a clip, and he made a YouTube clip that was private only for me to watch. You can do that and you'll learn how. I watched it and it was like he was conversing directly to me. I immediately booked that guy. I couldn't wait. I was like, whoa. That taught me a lesson. See what I said? Like, you can learn things not only from people who are older than you, but people who are younger than you. And if you're younger, try to nuzzle up to somebody. If you're in your 30s, find somebody who's 10 to 20 years older than you, pick their brain. If you're in your 40s and 50s, find somebody who you don't understand in their 30s or 20s and pick their brain. If you're in your 20s, or everybody should be paying attention to 15 to 17-year-olds. You want to know why? Because what they're doing is going to be the thing that is hot in the future. I always say that. If you want to know what's going to be the hot thing in the next 5 years, look at what I'd say 14 to 17-year-olds are doing. Because they dictate the future. We don't. We just live in the now. Hey guys, remember this. When you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror, take a second and just nod your head and smile at yourself. Be like, that's me. That's dope. That's me. That's God created that. Then, as you're moving throughout the day, now before you even get that far, hop in the shower. Let that one of those 4 elements wash over you, which is water. And cleanse your body, cleanse your soul. Let everything from the day before release down the drain. Get out the shower. Get the rest of the mist off your body. And then go back to the mirror now that you're cleaned and anew. Look at your face, look at the wrinkles, look at the moles, look at all the little crevices. That's you. That's you. That is like the stars in the sky. They are innumerable just like you are. They are special just like you are. There's only one of a kind. There's only one you. Look into your eyes. Look into the mirror. Get close and look at those nebulae. Your irises look like nebulae and little galaxies in the sky. As above, so below. You are fractal. You are part of the universe and you are a one of a kind. There is no one like you. You see the world through your eyes, and we see you through our eyes. This is how it's supposed to be. If you don't think you're a billionaire, remember when your mom and your dad got together, 2 cells met. The cosmic dance, the cosmic energy was put in. 2 to the power of 30 is a billion cells. When you see someone with those nebulae, treat them with love, honor, and respect. Peace.